Character clash. Ready?
Round 1.
Physical skills.
11, from now on I will call her, for example, Jane, is telekinesis. But as far as physical strength goes, well, does she need to be? Let's just say her physical strength is about average for a young woman rather than a preteen girl who grew up in a lab. She's not exactly a weightlifting champion. While she could throw things and people into the air with her mind, her physical build is nothing to write home about. She does, however, have a brutal style for breaking necks without lifting a finger. Does it really matter whether or not she can lift 20 pounds at the gym? But then again, she doesn't run a marathon every day, and her nose seems to bleed at the sight of a sandwich. Plus, her stamina has improved over time. Annie is physically fragile and has nonverbal autism, but don't be fooled. Annie isn't going to win any fist fights, but her mental ability can make her irrelevant. Yes, she's not very physically imposing, but who needs muscles when you can mentally manipulate your environment, have a meteorite fall on a specific house with some precision for a meteorite, or have pipes explode causing them to instantly freeze into spikes surrounding the body 1 inch from it. Among the more difficult things, the bad thing is that she is prone to a nervous breakdown. So even though she may seem more fragile than a china cup in an elephant store, don't underestimate her. Life isn't all about running or lifting weights, folks.
Round 2.
Combat skills.
Jane has fought monsters from other dimensions, government labs, and even hormonal teenagers. When she's got her glare on you, stealth is the least of her worries. She'll telekinize you to another dimension. Sure, if she runs out of powers, she's probably about as threatening as a wet cat. But until then, good luck. But what does that matter when you can throw your enemies around like ragdolls? The problem is one misuse of her energy and she'll end up bleeding more than a teenager in a slasher. She can also explode brains with her mind. She doesn't even need to get off the couch to kick your ass. And she can spy on people from the upside down like she has her own YouTube channel. Annie doesn't fight directly, nor is she the type to get her hands dirty, but she can manipulate her environment like she's playing 4D chess. She can make the environment your worst nightmare without moving an inch. Make the ceiling close in on your head or make the walls turn deadly. That's being subtle. And you know what's best? She doesn't bleed from her nose or from anything. Even though she doesn't have the mobility, her mastery over the paranormal is that much more chilling. Stealthy and deadly combat skills, check. Annie can manipulate the people and objects around her, giving her an advantage in combat. However, her lack of training in direct combat and her reliance on her mental powers can be a disadvantage against a more experienced fighter like Jane.
Round 3.
Survival skills.
Jane has survived the Upside Down, a lab run by sadistic scientists, and puberty, the scariest thing of all. No small feat, although she does sometimes rely on her friends or an ego. But her biggest weakness is that she relies too much on her powers. If she runs out of energy, and that happens more often than she'd like, she's in serious trouble. No small feat, although, let's face it, every season she ends up needing help from her friends or an adult. If it weren't for Mike, Hopper, or even Steve with his baseball bat, she would have been fodder for the Upside Down long ago. She survives, yes, but with plenty of support. However, her Achilles heel is emotional. If she loses her cool, survival could get complicated. Although less wild than Jane, in her more psychological and mystical world, Annie has survived harsh conditions thanks to her mental powers. She has proven to be a cunning survivor. Her psychic abilities allow her to perceive her surroundings more clearly and anticipate dangers. In addition, her knowledge of human psychology allows her to manipulate others to get what she needs. However, her fragile health can be a disadvantage in prolonged situations, and she is too dependent on her sister Rachel Wheaton. Getting her out of her haunted house leaves her a little out of place, but still, her sharp mind and psychic gifts keep her going.
Round 4.
Unprepared.
Without time to prepare, Jane might rely too much on her powers and underestimate Annie. Jane has quick reflexes, and she wouldn't hesitate to throw Annie into the air as soon as she sensed danger. But let's just say that strategy isn't her strong suit. She's one of those who acts first and thinks later. If someone caught her by surprise, she could be in trouble, but once the adrenaline kicks in, watch out for what falls on you, literally. A car? A Demogorgon? She can move it. She's more into direct action, and what she has at hand is more than enough to surprise anyone. And probably, in upside-down style, she'd leave her trapped in some hellish dimension while listening to 80s music. Annie is somewhat slower to react if she doesn't have time to tune in. Her focus is more on planning and manipulating the environment. Without preparation, Annie might rely too heavily on her mental powers and ability to manipulate people. While powerful, her lack of direct combat experience could be a disadvantage against Jane. Not to mention, she's able to manipulate reality to her advantage. She doesn't even have to stand up to face Jane. Annie has the X factor of the house, but without her psychic shelter, her best weapon is standing there staring intently, which isn't the most intimidating tactic against someone who can lift cars. The mansion can't always lend a hand in time. Without a house or spirits around her, it may take her a while to unleash her full potential.
Round 5.
With preparation.
Give Jane a couple of days and a good motivational speech from Mike and Hopper, because she clearly always needs a little emotional support, and you've got yourself a little Avenger ready to take on everything. She can train her skills, do some new tricks with telekinesis, and even learn to throw mental projectiles faster than ever before. But it all depends on how much she cried in the shower that week, which could affect her. She can boost her skills, but she tends to rely on her raw powers. Extra preparation isn't her greatest strength, though it does help her stay more focused. If things get too paranormal, Jane tends to overexert herself. Her planning ability isn't her strong suit. She tends to rely more on improvisation. However, her preparation has limits. Once inside Rose Red, no amount of egos or mental training would save her from being trapped by the same structure. The best she can do is hold out for a while. One slip in mind control and goodbye advantage. With time to plan, Annie can call the Rose Red house her fortress. She can control objects, summon entities, and alter reality. Annie is practically invincible in her house. With Rose Red at her disposal, she can turn it into a nightmare labyrinth, even more hellish. Jane is just looking for the first door, and she'd have a hard time. Annie can not only predict and thwart any tactics Jane tries, but turn the mansion into a death trap that no one gets out of alive. Jane, my dear, you don't stand a chance here. But let's not forget that without help from the house, she can do what I mentioned before. She can mentally manipulate your environment, make a meteorite fall on a specific house with precision for a meteorite, or make the pipes explode, causing them to instantly freeze into spikes surrounding the body 1 inch from it. Among the more difficult things, but it would be important for her sister to give her support. However, his lack of direct combat abilities could still be a disadvantage against Jane.
Round 6.
General data.
11. Jane Hopper. Physical skills 9. Combat skills 6. Survival skills 10. Unprepared 8. With preparation 7. Total 39. Annie Wheaton. Physical skills 9. Combat skills 8. Survival skills 7. Unprepared 9. With preparation 9. Total 42.
Final round.
Conclusion.
Jane once, Hopper has a slight advantage over Annie due to her combat and survival experience. Although Annie can manipulate environments and has powerful psychic abilities, Jane has proven to be more versatile in different scenarios, from the real world to alternate dimensions. Her ability to manipulate objects and people with her mind, combined with her combat experience and determination, gives her a significant advantage over Annie Wheaton. While Annie can be more powerful with the proper preparation time, Jane's direct style and survival instinct make her more dangerous in impromptu combat. Annie is more of a planner and long-game player, but Jane's explosive nature, coupled with her resilience in the face of devastating enemies, gives her the upper hand in most scenarios. Annie relies too heavily on her surroundings and her connection to Rose Red to reach her full potential, while Jane has learned to fight in extreme circumstances and survive with or without powers. Of course, there's no denying that if Annie managed to prepare on the right terrain, Jane would be in serious trouble. But in most cases, Jane's ability to improvise in chaotic situations would give her the decisive advantage. But they wouldn't even be near Rose Red's garden, so Annie's in trouble. Annie should request an urgent move to the Upside Down.
Do you agree with the result? And if not, tell me why. If you like this video, please subscribe, like and share.